10 after the hour. Well, the Marquette Maritime Museum is home to all sorts of history about Great Lakes shipping. So this morning, Ansley Watson is down there talking more about the nautical life during Maritime Day. Good morning, Ansley.
Good morning, Vicki. With us being right along Lake Superior, there's a bunch of history to know about ships and lighthouses and just the mariners in general and the lifestyle that live over here. I'm joined by a board member of the Maritime Museum here, Fred Stonehouse. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Well, thank you so much for being here yourself.
No problem. So we're standing in front of a couple boats right here outside. Can you talk to us a little bit about what they are?
I can absolutely do that. Both of these boats are early Coast Guard boats. All of them, or both of them, were involved in many rescues on Lake Superior that came out of Marquette Station. The one that's just over your shoulder here is known as a double nickel deuce, and that meant that really the size of the boat and the serial number of it. But she was here at the station for probably 20 years doing search and rescue recoveries. The one that's directly behind me is a 36-foot motor lifeboat, classic style used by the Coast Guard over literally a 100-year period of time.
So do they not use these styles anymore?
No, they have now moved certainly to modern technology, and if anybody comes down to the Maritime Museum and just kind of pokes their head around the new part, or the new Coast Guard station, they'll see the new rigid hull inflatables, especially a 45-footer built for very severe weather conditions and capable of really reaching speeds in excess of 45 knots, so they can get where they have to get very quickly to save human life.
Now, when did this museum open and why did it open?
Well, the museum opened in 1981, and it opened because there was a need, we thought, in Marquette at the time for somebody to talk about and tell the very rich maritime history, not only of the city, but really all of Lake Superior and the Great Lakes. The building is classic because she was built 1891 as the City Waterworks building. And when the city built a new building next door, then this one became surplus, and the Maritime Museum Association was able to reach an agreement with the city of Marquette to lease the building and open up a maritime museum.
So when people walk through these doors, what are they going to see?
When they walk through these doors, they are going to see a fantastic set of exhibits dealing with our terrific maritime past. They're going to see the largest collection of lighthouse lenses anywhere in the United States.
Really? I can't wait to see those. So why is it important for this Maritime Museum to be here?
Well, this is a wonderful location for the museum because we're right on the waterfront. We are next to the historic life-saving station here in Marquette, the old Coast Guard station, as folks would remember it. And directly opposite us on the other side is the new Coast Guard station. And of course, on the shores of the lake, people can see the lake, they can see the old lighthouse, and on a good day, we can arrange tours through the lighthouse.
Thank you, Fred. I can't wait to step inside and see all these lenses and maybe talk about a few shipwreck stories. Reporting live in Marquette, Ansley Watson, TV6 News.
All right, sounds great. Thank you very much, Ansley. And indeed, the Upper Peninsula has such a history of, Great Lakes shipping. And so hopefully today there will be smooth sailing for everybody. Caught up on any of this stuff yet?
Yeah, Vicki, there is a lot of history in this museum. We were talking earlier, I'm with Fred Stonehouse, and he's on the board of the Maritime Museum, and there is just so much to learn about. We were talking about the lenses, and back further in the museum, you can see all the different lenses. I saw one humongous one, and I thought the lens was just a little segment, but he was like, no, it's this whole thing. So, there's just so much to learn about the lighthouse and ships and shipwrecks here. Joining me this morning is Fred Stonehouse. Fred, thank you again for being with us this morning.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
No problem. So that lens that we were looking at earlier was for a lighthouse called the Standard Lighthouse, correct?
Well, that was Standard's Rock Lighthouse. That's 42 miles directly north of Marquette. It was known as the loneliest place in North America because it was the most distant lighthouse from shore from any of them in the entire continent.
What was the point of that? Why did they put a lighthouse in the middle of the lake?
The purpose of the lighthouse was to keep sailors from sailing onto a very dangerous reef, known as Standard's Rock Reef, discovered in 1844. So the lighthouse had to be there to warn people away, not to say, come this way, but to stay clear.
I know there's been a couple of shipwrecks. One, actually, the anniversary is coming up for. Can you talk to us a little bit about those?
Well, this November will be the 40th anniversary of the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald sank 10 November 1975, 15 miles off Whitefish Point with the loss of all hands. And to sailors on the Great Lakes, this was a terrifically tragic event. It's one that we still remember. and the museum will be doing a bell ceremony to mark that event.
I know that the Smith shipwreck happened in 1913, and they just found that just a few years ago, didn't they?
Well, the Henry B. Smith was one of those great ships lost in the hurricane on the Great Lakes of 1913. 250 dead sailors, 9 modern ore carriers were lost with all hands, and the last of them found was the Henry B. Smith in May of 2013, about 20 miles or so off of Big Bay.
Now, how would one even go about trying to find these ships?
Well, the Smith was found through magnetic anomaly detection. In other words, literally being able to find those areas on the bottom of Lake Superior that had a very high concentration of iron or steel, and then that in turn attracted the opportunity to use detection gear to find it.
I know there's stuff from World War II even in here. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Well, we're standing in the McClintock exhibit, which really is for the purpose of having folks remember Captain David McClintock, his submarine, the Darter, and or Dace rather, as well as all of his crew. And they were terrific heroes from World War II. This exhibit is really dedicated to them. One of the things we feature here is a periscope from a World War II submarine. And it's great fun for young and old to come and look through the periscope.
I wish we had more time to talk about all the stuff that's in this museum. Come check it out for yourself. It's a great time. Recording live in Marquette, Ansley Watson, and we'll be back with more of your TV6 Morning News after the break.